So in a perfect world, you have no competition. You should be able to watch this channel, take some of these suggestions, pick them up for yourself, wear it off to work or to school or wherever it is that you're going, and immediately be the best smelling guy and have all attention on you. Unfortunately, this isn't a perfect world, so you're gonna have other people potentially that are wearing some fragrances, and maybe that day they happen to choose something that was stronger than your scent that you happen to be wearing. Maybe they sprayed more of it on. Maybe they're wearing Versace Eros in the middle of summertime, and that's gonna be stronger than just about any other summer fragrance that you're wearing. So you've got to think about these things going into this. And so usually in summertime, maybe it will be a little bit harder to dominate all other scents around you if you're kind of sticking to wearing fresher things in summertime. But for most of us, we're heading out of summertime. We're going into fall and winter where you can really start to ramp things up, break out some strong and heavy scents, and be the guy that everyone is going to be looking at because your scent is going to be stronger than everyone else's. So if you want to stand out and dominate all other fragrances around you, and not even fragrances, but just smells in general, if you're at a bar or a restaurant and there's food and other smells and everything going on in the air, you still want your fragrance to stand out, you're going to want to choose one of these 10. So I will provide links to these down below to discounters. Let's just go ahead and start this one off with ISSEY MIYAKE NUIT ISSEY PARFUM. So really sharp looking bottle, kind of has a brushed, finished look to it there, as you can see, possibly. Really a big fan of kind of how this looks. Very subtle, but it's nice. It's got leather, vanilla, and tonka bean in this one. Now, again, this is the Parfum version. There's also like an EDP version of this, but I'm going Parfum because it's stronger, it's richer, and quite frankly, I just love Parfums. And this is another example of a flanker that does everything right. It's leathery, so it's masculine, but then you get some other sweeter supporting notes like the vanilla and the tonka bean to give it a bit of a sweetness, of course, but that also kind of gives it a little bit more versatility because now you're appealing to a couple different audiences. You're appealing to people who generally like sweeter smelling fragrances on men, but you're also appealing to people who want something more rugged and masculine, and that's what the leather does for this one. At the end of the day, this is a very strong performer. It behaves like a true Parfum, so it's going to really kind of hang in the air for a long time. It's going to occupy spaces, you know, just has this kind of dense heaviness when you smell it in the air, and people are going to be smelling you from a mile away. Kind of following a similar trend, we have Valentino UOMO Intense. Now this one has iris, also has some leather in here. You get some chocolatey accords, so it's kind of gourmand leaning, similar with Dior Homme Intense and Givenchy Gentleman EDP. And for this video, you really could have picked either of those, or any of those rather, so take your pick for your favorite sweeter iris scent and substitute it in this video. It's hard for me to choose a favorite. If I had to, it would be the Dior, but I also really have come to appreciate the Valentino, especially within the past year or so. I love it more and more each time. And the more you spend time with all of these different fragrances in general in this category, the more you start to pick up on subtle nuances. And at the end of the day, it's the subtleties that separate these. And for me, I just really, really enjoy this one in particular. It's kind of bridging the gap, so it's not as out there and as lipsticky and makeup baggy as Dior Homme Intense, but it also isn't as stripped back as the Givenchy. It's the middle ground. And this one here will get you attention, and it will stand out and crush everyone else's scents around you. Next up, we have a Tom Ford Private Blend. I don't normally feature these typically because of price point. I try to keep it designer level, and while this is a designer, and even I say, hey, you know, the private blends, they're still designer because it's not changing the name of the brand here. They are luxury designer fragrances coming with a luxury price tag. But for people who are into that sort of thing, I figured I'd give some love to this one. Tom Ford EBENE FUME. Love the bottle. I think it looks great. When this one was announced, I believe last year, the bottle had me sold immediately. I didn't pick it up until this year though, and upon getting it and testing it, it reminds me of a couple things. Maybe I'll do a full review on this one for the fall, maybe not, I'm not really sure. Maybe I'll throw it up on my shorts channel and go over it briefly. But it reminds me a little bit of Bentley for Men Absolute, and that's because Bentley for Men Absolute reminds me of Gucci Pour Homme 1. So we're going full circle. You guys may remember Gucci Pour Homme 1 was released when Tom Ford was the creative director of Gucci. That's when we got Gucci Envy and all of those other masterpieces. YSL over there, he did M7. You notice that most of these are all discontinued now after he left. big bummer. And so it kind of makes sense that now they're bringing this DNA back a little bit. Think of Gucci Pour Homme 1 or Bentley for Men Absolute. Think of that DNA, but even more smooth and rich. It's got the papyrus, it's got the cedarwood, it's got the smoky incense, but it's more luxurious smelling. It kind of loses some of the harsher, drier edges that the Gucci and the Bentley has. And because I'm a fan of that DNA, immediately I love this one. Still, I'm a really big fan of it. And now that we're getting some fall weather, it's the perfect time to wear this one. It's a great performer. It's going to dominate everything else around you. We're going to go for a highly concentrated fragrance up next. I mean, this stuff is absolutely crazy how strong it is. MANCERA Intense CEDRAT Boise. This has been in the making for years and years, it feels like. You know, I've been a big fan of the original ever since I got it, because that was my first ever niche fragrance. CEDRAT Boise, the Eau de Parfum. First ever niche. And I immediately fell in love with it. To this day, I still love the DNA. And so when I can now get this in a highly concentrated Parfum, which is, again, is my favorite concentration, I was all over this. And the fact that they've added a tiny bit of oud, but overall just amplified the scent DNA to make it even more heavy and dense and rich, this is a winner in every category for me. It's even stronger than the EDP, which is already strong enough. Right now, it's very affordable. You can get this for like $100 for full presentation 120 ml, which is insane given the performance and quality of this. You just can't go wrong with this, and I guarantee you this is going to crush every other scent within a mile radius around you. Obviously, not actually a mile radius, but if you're in a restaurant or in a kind of a closed indoor space, you're going to be taking that space up. Going to go with my favorite Invictus flanker in production, that is, and that is Invictus Victory. So yeah, this one here is my favorite current in production Invictus flanker. Notice I didn't say of all time, because 2016 Aqua would still hold that, of course, but they don't make that anymore. They don't even make the 2018 anymore. So this is it for me. It's got vanilla and pink pepper and tonka and all of that good stuff. You know, the note breakdown is basic, generic rather. The scent is going to lean in that direction as well. But compared to all of the other Invictus fragrances, this one is the furthest from it. And that's why I like it. It's going to be the sweetest one. It's going to be the most wintertime appropriate. It's going to be a little bit more situational specific, where I think the original was kind of used as a blanket, anytime, anywhere fragrance. That's how most people would use it anyway. This one really screams fall and winter time, and it's got great performance too. This stuff here is really next level. Perhaps one of the most challenging fragrances in this video. This one here and the next one that I'm going to cover after it. Two of the most challenging ones. And this is Terre d'Hermès. This is going to be the Pure Parfum. So of course it's going to have some orange. It's going to have grapefruit, oak moss, and woods. I mean, Terre d'Hermès itself, I think, can be challenging. You know, it's not going to be for everybody. It's very dry and earthy and orangey, and that type of thing can be a bit of a shock, especially when you're used to what's being put out these days, which is quite the opposite. This is very masculine. A lot of what's being put out now is, you know, much more kind of neutral. And so the Parfum takes it even to that next level. Again, this is dry and earthy and woody to the extreme. It's a Parfum. It's incredibly strong, highly concentrated. This stuff is just a bomb. It's a beast. And this is, what is it, 75 ml, I believe is what it is. Yep. And I think this comes in a full 200 mil, maybe, at least 100. But I know it comes in a huge bottle, which is kind of ridiculous because this is kind of going to last you a long time. And probably the most challenging one of this video, but again, I wanted to throw it in for the guys out there who just give no Fs and you just want to stand out and conquer everything. ROJA Parfums Amber AOUD. Look at that beauty. Yeah. Great stuff right here. Look at the color of it. Of course, coloration means nothing. You could color a scent dark, black, and then it'll be weak, possibly. You know, that could happen. But in this instance here, the color really does represent the sheer power of this stuff. It's got rose, oud, ambergris, saffron, among a bunch of other notes. In typical ROJA fashion, they've got tons and tons of notes and accords in their scents. And really, I mean, most challenging one right here. If you're 18 years old, please don't go out and blind buy this. probably don't even sample it because you probably won't like it. I'm not going to try to deter you. Do what you want, of course, but even a sample is going to cost you a lot of money. This is the type of thing where you're not going to be getting into it on your rookie year. You know, you might want to give it a couple years and make sure you have a true interest in this hobby before you start playing around with stuff like this, because I know if I would have smelled this 3 or 4 years ago, I would have said, no, not happening. It's also very expensive. You can get it heavily discounted though. I will link it down below to where you can get it for under $400. It retails for $700 or $800 USD plus shipping and tax. So great savings, but still, I mean, it's a powerhouse of a scent. And if all you care about is just dominating the scent space, this is going to do it with a couple of sprays. Kind of running down to the end, we have Armani Code Profumo, the famous root beer scent, kind of that root beer fizzy cola smell. It's got tonka bean, amber, and leather in here, and it smells fantastic. I love the look of the bottle, that kind of gradient to brown, you know, black to brown gradient. Bronze, I guess, with the bronze cap. It just looks like it smells, you know. It just has a very nice kind of sweet fizziness, but then very heavy on the leather and kind of dusty from the tonka. So it's masculine mixing with sweetness, kind of like some other things here in this video, which is why it works so well. When you kind of take a look at the trends, fragrances that do the best in terms of mass appeal will typically be hybrids, you know, fresh and sweet, blue fragrance and aquatic. If it's just citrus and that's it, yeah, you'll smell nice, whatever. But when you combine different kind of genres of scent into one, you're appealing to a larger audience, and thus you're just getting better feedback. This is a Parfum. It's got great powerful performance. I mean, you don't have to worry about it. You don't need a ton of sprays with this one either, and it's going to dominate your scent space. Second to last, we have AFNAN's 9 PM. Substituting this for Ultra Male, because Ultra Male's kind of now has the following that it's been reformulated to the point where it doesn't work anymore. And so instead of, you know, throwing that in here, we'll just avoid all that in general and just go for this one. It's 25 bucks. It smells very, very similar to Ultra Male, and all across the board, pretty consistently, it has great performance on most people. It's an eau de parfum, and at this price point, it's really hard to beat. I love Ultra Male. Nothing can replace Ultra Male for me, you know? Nothing can. This gets very close, but still not a replacement. But on days where I'm going to be wearing something for a couple hours and hopping in the shower, I could just go for something like this. And this, along with Ultra Male itself, is going to dominate the scent space. It's very sweet. It's going to cut through cold air. It's going to cut through all other smells, and you're going to get a ton of feedback. Positive and potentially negative as well, but feedback in general. And last up, SPICEBOMB Infrared. It's got red fruits, tobacco, and cinnamon. Compared to the original EDT, the red fruits is what gives this one its charm and makes it stand out among the other flankers. That's why I like it, is that kind of sweet fruitiness that you don't get in the original, but you do get here. I think it's a nice twist. Again, it's going to be the subtleties of this one that makes it different, because it is still very much SPICEBOMB DNA. But I like it. You know, it's almost gourmand leaning, even more so than like the original. The original, you're probably like, gourmand, really? You know, if you feel like eating tobacco, then maybe. But there's something about it with the cinnamon that just kind of gives you this fall, wintertime fun smell. And, you know, it smells like things that are, you know, seasoned or flavored with cinnamon and that sort of thing. You know, I don't know. It just kind of is. And so this one even goes further in that direction with that sweet fruitiness, and it's addicting to me. I think it smells awesome. First, when I got it, I was like, yeah, it's very, very similar to the original. It doesn't make sense. The more I wore it, the more I tested it, I kind of realized the small differences, and now I really enjoy this one a lot. It is an eau de toilette, but again, so is the original, and it still has great performance. Given the spicy nature of this one, it's going to cut through the air, and you're going to get a ton of feedback. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. 10 fragrances to completely dominate your scent space. If you want to eliminate the competition, choose any of these 10 or a variety of these, and you're going to be on your way to success. Links will be down below. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.